I'm 94 years old, and I've kept 52 VHS tapes hidden for 27 years. Recordings of cooking show episodes I made for an audience of one, a female Bigfoot who watched me through my kitchen window every single evening for an entire year. Before we begin, let me know in the comments where are you watching from today. My name is George Palmer. I was a chef for 40 years before I retired. Spent 45 years of marriage with my wife Martha, cooking for her every single day. Food was our love language. How we said good morning, how we apologized, how we celebrated, how we just said, I'm here and you matter. Martha died in February 1997, and with her death, I lost my reason to cook, lost my reason to create, lost the one person who made preparing food feel like an act of love instead of just mechanical survival. I was 67 years old, alone in our Montana house, cooking meals for myself that I couldn't taste anymore. Everything was ash in my mouth without her there to share it. But in May 1997, something started watching me through my kitchen window. An adult female Bigfoot, maybe 55 years old in human equivalent, who returned every evening at 6 p.m. to watch me cook. For 52 weeks, I recorded cooking show episodes specifically for her, taught her techniques, shared recipes, told her stories about Martha. That creature became my audience, my purpose, my reason to create again. And in January 1998, she saved my life, because she'd been paying attention. Because she noticed when I didn't show up to cook. Because genuine care means noticing when something's wrong and choosing to help, even across species. Those 52 tapes are proof that grief can be transformed into purpose, that performing for even one being who truly watches can restore meaning. That love, the kind expressed through daily ritual and consistent presence, transcends everything we think divides us. This is the story of how a Bigfoot became my audience, and how she taught me that cooking for someone who cares is never pointless, even when that someone isn't human. February 3rd, 1997. Martha died at 3:17 a.m. in our bedroom. Pancreatic cancer. 6 months from diagnosis to death. I was holding her hand when she took her last breath. 45 years of marriage. 45 years of cooking breakfast together every morning, preparing elaborate Sunday dinners, testing new recipes while she gave feedback. Our entire relationship had been built around the kitchen. It was where we talked, where we laughed, where we fought and made up, where we were most ourselves. Promise me you'll keep cooking, Martha had said 2 days before she died. Don't stop creating, George. It's who you are. I promised. But 2 weeks after her funeral, I understood how empty that promise was. Our house in rural Montana felt enormous without her. 40 acres of property, nearest neighbor a mile away. Martha and I had chosen isolation intentionally. We wanted peace, privacy, space to live quietly together. But isolation for two people in love is different than isolation for one person in grief. The silence was crushing. The emptiness was physical. Every room reminded me she was gone. The kitchen was the worst. That's where Martha had spent the most time, perched on her stool by the counter, watching me work, offering commentary and tasting everything. Needs more salt, George. That sauce is perfection. Are you sure about those flavor combinations? Now I cooked in silence, made simple meals. Scrambled eggs, canned soup, sandwiches. Food I didn't taste. Food that was just fuel to keep my body functioning when my heart had stopped caring about function. I was 67 years old, healthy enough to have decades left, but I didn't want decades. I wanted Martha, wanted to cook for her, wanted to hear her say, "This is delicious, darling," one more time. By April, 3 months after Martha's death, I'd stopped cooking entirely. Ate cereal for dinner, toast for lunch. Couldn't remember the last time I'd made a real meal. My daughter Sarah called from Seattle every week. "Dad, are you eating? Are you taking care of yourself?" "I'm fine," I'd lie. Down 15 pounds, hair going grey to white seemingly overnight, existing but not living. Sarah suggested I move to Seattle, live near her family. "You shouldn't be alone out there, Dad. Come stay with us. The grandkids would love to have you." But I couldn't leave. This house was Martha. Our kitchen was where we'd lived our real life together. Leaving would feel like abandoning her memory. I was trapped between grief and survival. Couldn't move forward. Couldn't move at all. Just sitting in that kitchen every evening, staring at the stove, remembering 45 years of meals prepared with love. I needed something. Anything. Some reason to cook again. Some reason to care about creation when the only person who'd made creation meaningful was gone. I had no idea that reason was about to start watching me through my kitchen window. That a Bigfoot would become the audience Martha could no longer be. That performing for one creature who truly paid attention would save me from drowning in grief. I'd forced myself to cook a real meal. Nothing elaborate, just chicken parmesan, garlic bread, a simple salad. Martha's favorite. Made it the way she liked. Extra sauce, fresh mozzarella, basil from the garden she'd planted before she got sick. I was at the stove, breading the chicken, going through motions that felt mechanical. No joy, no creativity. Just following a recipe I'd made 1,000 times. That's when I felt it. The sensation of being watched. I looked up at the kitchen window over the sink. It was dusk, that purple-grey light that makes it hard to see clearly. At first I thought it was just a shadow, a tree branch. My grief-addled brain seeing things. Then it moved, and I saw her clearly. A face in my window, massive, covered in reddish-brown hair, eyes dark and intelligent, watching me with focused intensity. A Bigfoot. Had to be. 7 feet tall, even hunched down to look through the window. Female, I thought. Something about the facial structure, the way she held herself. My first reaction wasn't fear, it was irritation. I'd been interrupted while cooking. Some irrational part of me, the chef part, was annoyed at having an audience when I was making a meal I'd never wanted to make. "Can I help you?" I called out, my voice sharp. The Bigfoot didn't move, just kept watching, staring at my hands as I breaded the chicken, watching the way I dipped each piece in egg, then breadcrumbs, then set it carefully in the heated oil. I put down the chicken and walked slowly to the window. The Bigfoot tensed but didn't retreat. We were maybe 5 feet apart, just a pane of glass between us. She was remarkable up close, face deeply lined, suggesting age, hair graying at the temples, eyes that showed not just intelligence, but something else. Interest, curiosity. She wasn't looking at me like I was prey or threat. She was looking at me like I was doing something fascinating, like I was performing. "You're watching me cook," I said aloud. "Is that what this is? You want to see what I'm making?" The Bigfoot's eyes tracked my mouth as I spoke, then returned to the stove where the oil was starting to smoke. "Oh hell!" I ran back to the stove, turned down the heat, resumed breading chicken, hyper-aware of the audience at my window. And something strange happened. I started narrating what I was doing. "You have to get the oil hot but not smoking," I explained, speaking to the Bigfoot like she was a student. "Around 350 degrees. Hot enough to crisp the breading, not so hot it burns before the chicken cooks through." The Bigfoot watched intently, didn't look away even once. I finished the chicken parmesan, plated it carefully. Old chef habits die hard. Added garnish, even though I was eating alone. Set it on my kitchen table. The Bigfoot was still at the window, still watching. I looked at the meal, looked at the creature, made a decision that would change everything. I plated a second serving, took it outside to the back porch, set it on the railing near the window where she'd been watching. "Here," I called out. "You watched me make it, you should try it." Then I went back inside, sat at my table and ate my portion. The first real meal I'd tasted in 3 months. The first time food had flavor instead of just texture and ash. Through the window, I watched the Bigfoot approach the porch carefully. She picked up the plate, held it with surprising delicacy, and sniffed the food, then ate it slowly, deliberately, clearly paying attention to the flavors and textures. When she finished, she set the plate back on the railing, looked at me through the window, made a soft sound, not quite language, but definitely communication. Then she disappeared into the darkening forest. The next evening, she was back. Same time, 6 p.m. exactly. Same position at the window, watching, waiting. I was making beef stew, Martha's recipe. Slow cooked for hours, vegetables added at precise intervals, seasoned the way she'd taught me. The Bigfoot watched every step. When I'd stir, she'd lean closer. When I'd taste and adjust seasoning, her eyes would track the spoon from pot to mouth. "You're really interested in this, aren't you?" I said. The Bigfoot made a soft grunt. Affirmative, I thought. "Okay then. Let me explain what I'm doing." I narrated the entire process. How long to brown meat, why you deglaze with wine, when to add the vegetables. The Bigfoot listened, or at least watched, with complete attention. When the stew was done, I plated a portion for her again, brought it outside. This time she was closer, maybe 10 feet from the porch instead of at the tree line. I set down the plate and backed away. "It's hot. Be careful." The Bigfoot approached, took the plate. But before eating, she did something extraordinary. She held the plate up toward me, a gesture that looked unmistakably like gratitude, like a toast. Then she ate slowly, savoring every bite. When she finished, she returned the plate to the porch railing, made that soft sound again, and left. I stood there in the gathering dark, holding an empty plate that a Bigfoot had returned to me, and realized I had an audience again. Someone who cared about what I was creating, someone who paid attention. For the first time since Martha died, cooking felt like it mattered. The Bigfoot came back every evening, always at 6 p.m., always to the kitchen window, always watching with that same focused intensity. By the end of May, it had become routine. I'd start cooking at 5:30, knowing she'd arrive at 6. I'd narrate everything I did, explaining techniques and ingredients. She'd watch. I'd plate food for both of us. She'd eat on the porch while I ate inside. Then she'd return the plate and leave. It was the closest thing to companionship I'd had since Martha died. The Bigfoot didn't talk back, didn't offer advice, didn't interrupt. But she paid attention. She was present. She bore witness to my cooking the way Martha used to. One evening in early June, I had an idea. I set up my camcorder on a tripod in the kitchen, angled to capture me at the stove. Hit record. "Welcome to George Palmer's cooking show," I said, speaking to the camera, to the Bigfoot watching through the window, to Martha's ghost. "Tonight, we're making coq au vin, classic French technique. Julia Child would be proud." The Bigfoot's eyes widened. She understood something had changed. This wasn't just casual cooking anymore. This was performance. This was a show specifically for her. I cooked with more energy than I'd had in months, explained every step in detail, made jokes, told stories about learning this recipe in culinary school 40 years ago. The Bigfoot watched everything, occasionally making soft sounds that I interpreted as interest or agreement. When I finished, I turned to the camera. "That's all for tonight. Join me tomorrow when we'll tackle homemade pasta." George Palmer, signing off. I plated food for the Bigfoot, brought it outside. She took it, held it up in that gesture of gratitude, then did something new. She pointed at the camera, then pointed at me, then made a questioning sound. "You want to know what the camera is for?" I asked. She nodded, actually nodded. "It records, saves what I'm doing, so you can, well, I guess so I can remember these meals, remember cooking for someone who cares." The Bigfoot seemed to consider this. Then she made a sound that was almost approving, like she understood the importance of documentation, of preserving what matters. Over the following weeks, I recorded an episode every night. 52 episodes over the course of a year. The format evolved. I'd introduce the dish, prepare it step by step, plate it beautifully, then end with a personal story or reflection. The Bigfoot never missed an episode, never failed to show up at 6 p.m. I started thinking of her as my producer, my audience focus group, my reason to perform well. And the cooking changed. It wasn't mechanical anymore. It was creative, joyful. I was making food for someone who appreciated it, who showed up consistently, who cared enough to watch every single night. One evening I was making Martha's chocolate souffle, notoriously difficult, temperamental. I explained the chemistry to my audience. The eggs have to be room temperature. The oven has to be exactly 375 degrees. You fold, never stir. If you're rough with it, it'll collapse. You have to treat it gently, like something precious. I pulled the souffle from the oven, perfectly risen, golden brown, showed it to the camera, to the Bigfoot at the window. "Martha made me practice this 50 times before I got it right," I said, my voice catching. "She said any chef worth his salt should be able to make a perfect souffle. She was right about that. She was right about most things." The Bigfoot made a soft, sympathetic sound, like she understood grief, like she'd lost someone too. I was making beef Wellington, complex, time-consuming, multiple components that had to come together perfectly. Midway through, I looked up to see the Bigfoot wasn't at the window. She was at the back door, closer than she'd ever been. I opened the door slowly. "You want to come in?" She made a questioning sound, gestured toward the kitchen. "You want to see up close? See how it's actually done?" She nodded. I stepped aside. "Okay, come in, but don't touch anything yet. Just watch." The Bigfoot entered my kitchen, massive in the enclosed space, but moving carefully, aware of her size. She positioned herself near the counter where Martha used to sit. Same angle, same proximity. And I understood. She wasn't just watching cooking. She was taking Martha's place, becoming the audience, the witness, the person who made the performance meaningful. "Okay then," I said, my throat tight. "Let me show you how to make a proper duxelles." I worked, narrating constantly, while the Bigfoot watched from Martha's spot. When I finished, I plated the Wellington, cutting it to show the perfect medium-rare beef inside the puff pastry. The Bigfoot made a sound of appreciation. Then she did something remarkable. She reached into the thick fur at her side and pulled out something. Mushrooms. Wild mushrooms. Freshly picked. Carefully cleaned. She set them on the counter. Looked at me. The message was clear. "I brought you ingredients. I want to participate. You want to contribute to tomorrow's episode?" I asked, stunned. She nodded. "Okay," I said, accepting the mushrooms. "Tomorrow we'll make wild mushroom risotto. Using your ingredients, you'll be my co-creator." The Bigfoot made a pleased sound. We'd moved from performance to collaboration. If you're listening right now and you've ever cooked for someone who truly appreciated it, someone who paid attention, who cared, who showed up, then you understand what this meant to me. My daughter said nobody would watch an old man's cooking videos, but if you've stayed this far, you're proving her wrong. Hit subscribe. Help me show that these stories, about grief, about purpose, about unexpected connection. These matter. Now back to Montana, summer of 1997. That night I reviewed the footage, watched myself cook with energy I hadn't felt in months, watched the Bigfoot's fascination, watched two beings sharing space, sharing ritual, sharing the simple act of preparing food with care. I realized Martha had been right. I needed to keep cooking, but not just for survival, for performance, for creation, for someone who cared enough to watch. The Bigfoot had given me back my purpose. She'd become my audience, and in becoming my audience, she'd made me a chef again, instead of just a grieving widower going through motions. I was cooking for her the way I'd cooked for Martha, with love, with attention, with the desire to create something beautiful that would be witnessed and appreciated. That mattered. That was everything. By July, our routine had become more sophisticated. The Bigfoot would arrive at 5:45 p.m. now, entering through the back door I left unlocked for her. She'd position herself at the counter. I'd hit record on the camera at 6 p.m. sharp. Then we'd begin the show. She understood the format now, knew when I was performing for the camera versus when I was just talking to her, would stay perfectly still during recording, becoming part of the production crew. But during breaks, she'd gesture questions or point at ingredients, asking to understand more. She was learning, absorbing everything, not just watching but studying. One evening, I was demonstrating knife skills, how to julienne vegetables, how to dice onions without crying, how to butterfly a chicken breast. The Bigfoot watched my hands with laser focus. After the recording, she gestured toward the knife, toward the cutting board, asking permission. "You want to try?" I asked, stunned. She nodded. I handed her a carrot and a knife, demonstrating the grip. Her hands were enormous, but she held the knife with surprising delicacy. Attempted to julienne the carrot. Failed. The pieces were uneven, crude, but she'd understood the concept. Understood what I was trying to teach. A Bigfoot was learning culinary technique. I was teaching pasta making from scratch, explained the ratio of flour to eggs, the importance of kneading, the way fresh pasta cooks differently than dried. The Bigfoot watched, fascinated, then gestured that she wanted to help. I set out ingredients for her. Flour, eggs, salt. Showed her how to make a well in the flour, crack eggs into it, begin incorporating with a fork. She followed instructions perfectly, her massive hands working the dough with surprising gentleness. When it came time to knead, she kneaded. When it was time to rest the dough, she stepped back and waited patiently. "You're a natural," I said, meaning it. "Martha would have loved teaching you. She always said cooking is about feel, not just following recipes. You've got feel." The Bigfoot made a pleased sound. We rolled the pasta together, her operating the hand-crank pasta machine while I fed dough through, both of us working in synchronized rhythm. When the pasta was done, perfect, delicate sheets, we cooked it together. I made sauce while she carefully cut the sheets into fettuccine, copying my technique from earlier episodes. We plated 2 portions, sat at the table together, me in my chair, her on the floor because she was too large for furniture, ate the meal we'd created together. It was the first time since Martha died that I'd shared a meal with someone at my table. The first time food had tasted like joy instead of just sustenance. The Bigfoot started bringing ingredients regularly. Wild mushrooms, herbs from the forest. Once, a whole salmon from a stream I didn't know existed. Fresh berries, edible flowers. She was contributing to the show, providing materials I couldn't access, making our cooking collaborative instead of me just teaching her. In return, I taught her everything I knew. Technique, timing, flavor combinations, the science behind cooking, why acid brightens flavor, why salt enhances sweetness, why fat carries taste. And she taught me things too, showed me wild plants I didn't recognize that were edible, nutritious, delicious when prepared properly, demonstrated how her people preserved food, smoking, drying, creating storage that lasted through winter. We were exchanging knowledge. 2 beings from different species, both with sophisticated understanding of food, learning from each other. One evening, she brought me something extraordinary, honey, wild honey from a hive deep in the forest, more than I could use in months. "This is incredible," I said, tasting it. Complex, floral, unlike anything I'd tasted commercially. The Bigfoot made a gesture. "For you, for teaching, for caring." I was speechless. She wasn't just watching anymore. She was giving back, showing gratitude, acknowledging that what we were sharing mattered to her too. By August, we developed our own communication system. She'd gesture questions during breaks. I'd demonstrate answers. She'd mimic techniques, and I'd correct her form. We couldn't speak the same language, but we understood each other perfectly within the context of cooking. She learned to taste as she cooked, would sample and make expressions showing whether something needed adjustment, would gesture for salt, for acid, for heat. She was developing a palate, understanding the balance of flavors that makes food more than just fuel. One evening, I was making a complex French sauce, beurre blanc, notorious for breaking if you're not careful. The Bigfoot watched intently as I whisked, adding cold butter piece by piece, maintaining precise temperature. When I finished, perfect, silky, emulsified, she made an excited sound, then gestured, "Can I try?" I set up the ingredients again, talked her through every step. She followed instructions meticulously. Added butter too fast once and the sauce started to break. I showed her how to save it. Add a splash of cream, whisk vigorously, bring it back together. She did it, tasted the result, made a satisfied sound. "You just made beurre blanc," I said, laughing for the first time in months. "Do you know how long it took me to learn that?" "You did it in one try." The Bigfoot looked proud, showed me the sauce, asking for approval. "Martha would have been impressed," I said honestly. "She always said great cooking is about paying attention, about caring enough to get it right. You care, that's what matters." I was making Martha's birthday cake, her favorite, lemon lavender with buttercream frosting. Her birthday was August 29th. She would have been 66. I was recording the episode, but my hands were shaking. My voice kept catching. By the time I got to piping the frosting, I was crying openly. "I'm sorry," I said to the camera, to the Bigfoot. "This was Martha's favorite. I made it for her every year for 45 years. This is the first time I'm making it without her here to eat it." I finished the cake, plated a slice, sat at the table with my head in my hands, unable to eat it. The Bigfoot approached slowly, sat beside me on the floor, made a soft, comforting sound, then did something extraordinary. She very gently rested her massive hand on my shoulder. The same gesture humans use to comfort, the universal language of "I'm here, you're not alone." I put my hand over hers and cried. She stayed with me for 20 minutes, just being present, just bearing witness to grief. When I finally composed myself, I cut 2 slices of cake, one for me, one for her. "Thank you," I said, "for being here, for watching, for caring about an old man's cooking show. Martha would have liked you. She would have appreciated that you pay attention." The Bigfoot squeezed my shoulder gently. Then we ate Martha's birthday cake together, honoring her memory through shared ritual. I understood then. The Bigfoot wasn't just my audience. She was my companion in grief. She was helping me remember Martha through food, through stories, through the daily ritual of creation. She was making sure Martha wasn't forgotten. That was love, that was care, that transcended species. My neighbor Jack, a rancher who lived a mile west, showed up unexpectedly in the afternoon. I was prepping ingredients for the evening's episode. "George, I wanted to check on you," Jack said. "Haven't seen much of you since Martha passed, making sure you're doing okay out here alone." "I'm fine, Jack, really been keeping busy." "That's good." He paused, looking uncomfortable. "Thing is, I've been seeing something weird on your property. Some kind of large animal. Thought it might be a bear, but the tracks aren't right. You seen anything unusual?" My blood went cold. "Just deer, elk sometimes. This is bigger than elk. A lot bigger. Been thinking about organizing a hunting party. Whatever it is, has been around several properties lately. Might be dangerous." After Jack left, I panicked. The Bigfoot's evening visits had been noticed, her tracks, her presence. People were paying attention. If hunters came, they'd find her, might shoot her, might kill the one being who'd given me purpose again. That evening at 5:45, the Bigfoot arrived as usual, but I didn't let her in. Through the door, I tried to explain. "It's not safe. People know you're here. They want to hunt you. You can't come back anymore." The Bigfoot made a confused, distressed sound, gestured toward the kitchen, toward our routine, asking why. "Because I can't lose you too," I said, my voice breaking. "I already lost Martha. I can't watch hunters kill you because you were kind enough to care about an old man's cooking. You have to stay away, for your own safety." The Bigfoot looked at me with such hurt, such incomprehension. We'd built something together for months, and now I was ending it without real explanation. She made one final sound, grief, betrayal, and disappeared into the forest. For 2 weeks, she didn't return. I cooked alone again, recorded episodes for no one. The camera captured an old man talking to emptiness, performing for an audience that was gone. The food tasted like ash again. The routine felt mechanical. The purpose had evaporated. I'd protected the Bigfoot by sending her away, but I'd destroyed myself in the process. The one thing that had made life bearable after Martha's death, the one connection that had given me reason to create, I'd severed it to keep her safe. Jack came by again. "Haven't seen that animal lately. Maybe it moved on. Probably for the best." "Yeah," I said hollowly, "probably for the best." But it wasn't for the best. I was drowning again, sinking back into the grief that had consumed me before the Bigfoot arrived. Food was meaningless. Cooking was pointless. Living felt like waiting to die. I was recording anyway, force of habit, making cassoulet, speaking to an empty kitchen, explaining technique to no one, going through motions that had stopped mattering. Midway through, I heard the back door open. Turned to see the Bigfoot standing there. She was thinner, looked tired, like she'd been suffering too. "You came back," I whispered. "But it's not safe." She made a sharp sound, cut me off, then gestured emphatically. "I know. I don't care. This matters more. They'll hunt you, they'll kill you." She gestured again. "I know. I choose to come anyway." "Why?" I asked, sinking into my chair. "Why risk it?" The Bigfoot approached, knelt beside me, made a long series of gestures pointing to the stove, to the food, to the camera, to me, then touched her chest and mine. The message was clear. "This, what we have, is more important than safety. You need this. I need this. Worth the risk." I broke down. "I was trying to protect you. I've already lost everyone I love. I can't lose you too." The Bigfoot made a sound that was almost gentle, touched my face carefully, then made another gesture. "You can't protect anyone by pushing them away. That's not protection. That's just more loneliness." "Martha used to say that," I said, stunned. "She'd say I couldn't protect her from cancer by avoiding talking about it. That being together was more important than being safe from pain." The Bigfoot nodded. "Exactly that. You're right, I'm sorry. I was so afraid of losing you that I threw away what we had. That was stupid." She made an affirmative sound. "Yes, stupid." Then she made another gesture that clearly meant, "But I forgive you. Now let's cook." I laughed through tears. "Okay, let's cook." We resumed the episode together. The cassoulet turned out perfectly. We ate together, and the food tasted like food again. Like joy, like connection. "I won't send you away again," I promised. "Whatever happens, we face it together. You deserve to be here. You deserve to watch. You deserve to be part of this." The Bigfoot squeezed my shoulder. Agreement. Understanding. Forgiveness. From that evening forward, I didn't care if hunters came, didn't care if neighbors noticed. The Bigfoot and I had something real, something worth protecting through presence, not through separation. And that was more valuable than safety. I'm sharing this now because someone told me that cooking shows are only worth watching if they're professional, polished, made for mass audiences. But if you've stayed this long, you know that's wrong. Sometimes the most important shows are the ones made for an audience of one. Subscribe if you believe that genuine connection matters more than production value, that caring, real caring, transcends species and circumstances. Our final months together. The Bigfoot came every evening despite the risk. We cooked together, recorded together, built something beautiful and temporary, and through it all, she taught me what Martha had known, but I'd forgotten. I was teaching soufflé again. Martha's test of a true chef explained the precise technique, the careful folding, the exact oven temperature. The Bigfoot's first attempt collapsed completely. Flat, dense, a disaster. I started to explain what went wrong, ready to be critical the way culinary school had taught me, but she looked so disappointed, so discouraged. I stopped. "You know what? Martha's first soufflé looked like this too. Looked like a pancake. We laughed about it for years." The Bigfoot looked surprised. "The thing is," I continued, "Martha taught me something it took me decades to learn. Cooking isn't about perfection. It's about care. You made this with care. You tried. You paid attention. That matters more than whether it rose." The Bigfoot made a questioning sound. "Yes, really. When Martha got sick near the end, I'd make her these elaborate meals. Restaurant quality. Technically perfect. And you know what she said? She said she'd rather have burnt toast made with love than a perfect meal made with obligation." I looked at the collapsed soufflé. "This is made with love, with care, with the desire to learn and grow. That makes it perfect, even when it's technically a failure." The Bigfoot considered this, then divided the collapsed soufflé into 2 portions. We ate it together. It was dense, heavy, nothing like what a soufflé should be, but it tasted like care, and that made it delicious. I was making chicken soup. Simple, humble, nothing fancy. The kind of food you make when someone's sick or sad or just needs comfort. "Martha and I made this soup every time one of us wasn't feeling well," I told the Bigfoot. "It wasn't about the soup being special. It was about taking the time to make it, about sitting with each other while we ate it, about being present when presence was what mattered." The Bigfoot listened intently. "Near the end, when Martha was too sick to eat, I'd still make this soup. She couldn't taste it anymore, could barely keep down a few spoonfuls, but I'd make it anyway and sit with her while she tried. Because the soup wasn't really about food. It was about saying, 'I'm here, I care, you're not alone.'" I looked at the Bigfoot. "That's what you've done for me. You show up every evening. You watch. You care. You're present. That's the gift. Not learning to cook, just being here." The Bigfoot made a soft sound, then gestured to herself, then to me, then pressed her hands together. "You're saying you need this too? You're not just doing this for me?" She nodded emphatically. "Yes. This matters to me too. We're keeping each other company, I said, understanding. Both of us alone. Both of us needing witness. Both of us showing up for each other every day. The Bigfoot confirmed. Then we ate the soup together in comfortable silence. The presence itself was the meal. The food was just the excuse to share space. I was making Thanksgiving preparations early, testing recipes I'd make for the holiday I'd spend alone. Martha and I hosted Thanksgiving for 40 years, I told the Bigfoot. Same menu every year. Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, pumpkin pie. Same dishes, same recipes. Never got tired of it. The Bigfoot watched me prep the stuffing. Martha's recipe, with sausage and apples and sage. The repetition was the point, I continued. Every year we'd tell the same stories while we cooked. Remember the time the turkey burned? Remember when Sarah was 5 and spilled cranberry sauce all over herself? The food was just the framework for memory, for story, for connection. I paused, choking up. This year I'm making the same food, but the stories have nowhere to go. Martha's not here to remember with me. Sarah's in Seattle with her family. I'm just cooking into silence. The Bigfoot made a questioning sound, gestured to herself. You're saying I can tell you the stories? She nodded, emphatic. Yes. Tell me. So I did. While I cooked, I told her 40 years of Thanksgiving stories, funny moments, disasters, triumphs. The year Martha's mother criticized every dish and we laughed about it for decades. The Bigfoot listened to everything, making soft sounds at appropriate moments, engaged with every tale. And I understood. The stories didn't need Martha to be told. They needed an audience, someone who'd listen, someone who'd care. The Bigfoot was giving me permission to remember, to speak Martha's name, to keep our history alive through narrative. Food without story is just fuel, I said into the camera. But food with story, food connected to memory, to people, to love, that's what makes us human. Or I guess what makes us worthy of being witnessed, regardless of species. I was reflecting on our routine. 52 weeks of 6 p.m. meetings, of consistent ritual, of predictable structure. After Martha died, time stopped meaning anything, I told the Bigfoot. Days blurred together. I'd wake up not knowing what day it was, not caring, nothing to anchor me, nothing to structure around. The Bigfoot watched me prepare our evening meal, coq au vin, a dish we'd made dozens of times together now. But then you started coming, every evening, same time, and suddenly I had structure again. Had to be cooking by 5:30 so I'd be ready when you arrived at 6. Had to plan meals, prep ingredients, think about tomorrow. You gave me back time, made the days mean something again. The Bigfoot made a soft sound. Martha and I had rituals like this, I continued. Coffee together every morning at 7 a.m. exactly. Sunday dinner at 1 p.m., Friday night movies at 8. The repetition wasn't boring. It was stabilizing. It created a framework for living when living felt chaotic. I plated our food. We sat together, me at the table, her on the floor beside me. When chaos comes, grief, loss, illness, rituals save us. Small, consistent actions that say, today matters, tomorrow will come. Life continues through pattern and rhythm and showing up. The Bigfoot nodded, understood, then made a gesture. Tomorrow, same time, I'll be here. I know you will, I said. That's the gift. Consistent presence. That's what makes rituals work. Our final recorded episode, though neither of us knew it yet, I was teaching the Bigfoot how to make Christmas cookies, cut out sugar cookies decorated with royal icing, Martha's tradition, something we'd done together every December for 45 years. Martha taught me that teaching is love made visible, I said to the camera. When you teach someone something you care about, you're saying, this matters, I matter, you matter, what we're sharing matters. The Bigfoot was carefully using cookie cutters, stars, trees, snowflakes, her massive hands somehow managing delicate precision. I spent 40 years as a professional chef, I continued, cooked for thousands of people. But the most important cooking I ever did was teaching Sarah to make pancakes when she was 6, teaching my nephew to make risotto, teaching Martha's mother my marinara recipe. That's the cooking that mattered, because it was about more than food. It was about passing something forward, about saying, here's what I know, here's what I value. I'm giving this to you because you matter to me. The Bigfoot was decorating cookies now. Her icing work was surprisingly good. Clean lines, steady hand, artistic instinct. When I'm gone, I said, my voice breaking, Sarah will make my recipes. She'll teach her kids. Maybe they'll teach their kids. That's immortality, not fame, not money. Just recipes passed down with love, carrying forward the message. Someone cared enough to teach me this. So I'm teaching you. I looked at the Bigfoot. You've learned from me. 52 episodes, a year of lessons. You're carrying forward what Martha taught me, what generations of chefs taught me. You're part of that chain now. What you do with this knowledge, that's my legacy. The Bigfoot made a sound that seemed emotional, looked at the cookies we'd made together, then carefully packaged half of them, wrapping them in leaves, creating a portable container with forest materials. She gestured, for me, to take, to remember. Yes, I said, take them. Remember this. Remember that an old man cared enough to teach you. And maybe someday you'll teach someone else. That's how love works. It multiplies through teaching. After we finished recording, after the cookies were done, the Bigfoot and I sat together in the kitchen, just being present. Comfortable silence. She pointed to the camera, then to all the tapes, 52 cassettes stacked on my counter, one for each week we'd spent together. Then she touched her chest and mine, made a sweeping gesture that encompassed the kitchen, the food, the year of evenings. You're saying this is how we'll be remembered? I asked. Through these tapes? Through what we created together? She nodded. Martha's not in these recordings, I said, but she's in every episode. Every recipe I learned from her, every story I told about her, every technique she taught me that I taught you. She's here because I kept her alive through cooking, through memory, through passing forward what she gave me. The Bigfoot made an affirming sound. And when I'm gone, I continued, you'll remember me. And maybe your people will remember that a human taught one of you how to cook with care. And maybe that matters. Maybe that's enough. She reached out and took my hand, held it gently. Her eyes showed something profound, understanding that what we'd built together transcended survival. We'd created meaning. We'd transformed grief into purpose. We'd honored the dead through consistent ritual and shared presence. Thank you, I whispered, for watching, for caring, for being the audience Martha couldn't be, for giving me a reason to create again. You saved my life just by showing up. The Bigfoot squeezed my hand, then made a gesture that clearly meant, you saved mine too. We sat like that for a long time, two beings who'd found each other in grief and built something beautiful from shared loss. Neither of us knew that in 3 weeks, everything would change, that she'd have to save my life in a different way, that our routine was about to be broken by crisis. We just sat together, grateful for what we had, not knowing how precious these final, normal evenings were. By late December, I was noticing changes. Small things at first, forgetting words mid-sentence, stumbling occasionally, a persistent headache I dismissed as stress. I was 68 now, a year older than when Martha died, aging in the way men do when grief has worn them down. Grey hair completely white, face more lined, moving slower. The Bigfoot was aging too, I thought. She'd been vigorous when we met, strong, quick, energetic, but now I noticed her movements were slightly stiffer. She'd sit more during our sessions, rest between activities. We were both getting older, both carrying the weight of years and loss. One evening I mentioned to the camera, this is episode 50, 2 more weeks until we hit 52, a full year of cooking together, a full year of purpose. The Bigfoot made a questioning sound. After, I repeated. I don't know. I guess we just keep going, keep cooking, keep recording, as long as we both can. But something about that felt uncertain. Like time was running out in ways I couldn't name. Like our routine, solid and reliable for a year, was more fragile than I wanted to believe. In those final weeks, our physical proximity increased. The Bigfoot would sit closer while we cooked, would touch my shoulder more often. Once, while I was stirring a pot, she rested her hand on my back, steadying me when I swayed slightly, catching me before I fell. I'm okay, I said. Just got dizzy for a second, but her eyes showed concern. She'd noticed something I was denying, that I was declining, that something was wrong. We'd developed such intimacy over the year, could read each other's moods, anticipate needs, communicate complex ideas with simple gestures. She knew me better than most humans did, and she was worried. January 6, 1998, 3 days before everything changed. We were making beef bourguignon, complex, time-consuming, requiring precise technique. I'd taught her the recipe months ago. Now she was making it while I supervised. She worked carefully, perfectly executing every step, added wine at the right moment, adjusted seasoning by taste, plated beautifully. When we sat down to eat, she made a gesture. This is your recipe, but now it's mine too. You gave it to me. Yes, I said, it's yours now. When I'm gone, you'll still have this. You'll still know how to make beef bourguignon. That's immortality. Recipes outliving the people who taught them. The Bigfoot looked at me seriously, then made a gesture that stopped my heart. You're not planning to leave soon, are you? No, I lied. I'm fine. Just being philosophical. But she knew. Somehow she knew something was wrong with me, that the headaches were getting worse, that the stumbling was more frequent, that I was heading toward a crisis I couldn't see coming. She touched my face gently, made a sound that meant, I'm watching, I'm paying attention, I'll notice if something's wrong. I know you will, I said, and thank God she was watching, because 3 days later she'd need to. I was supposed to be cooking. It was 5:30 p.m., time to start prep for the 6 p.m. recording. But I couldn't move, couldn't think, couldn't speak. I was lying on my kitchen floor, the right side of my body not responding, the room spinning, terror flooding through me as I understood. Stroke. I was having a stroke. I tried to reach the phone. Couldn't. Tried to call for help. No sound came out. The clock said 5:47. 13 minutes until the Bigfoot would arrive. Would she understand something was wrong? Would she help? Or would she just think I'd forgotten our routine? 6 p.m. The back door opened. The Bigfoot entered, expecting our usual routine. She found me on the floor, made an alarmed sound, rushed over. I looked at her, trying to communicate with my eyes. Help. Something's wrong. Help me. She understood immediately. Checked my pulse. Something I taught her during a first aid episode. Noted my paralysis, my inability to speak. Made connections based on months of watching medical documentaries I'd played during our sessions. Then she did something extraordinary. She ran outside and started making noise. Loud vocalizations, breaking branches, creating a commotion designed to attract attention from miles away. Within 10 minutes, my neighbor Jack arrived, drawn by the unusual sounds. Found me on the floor. Called 911. The paramedics arrived 20 minutes later. By then, the Bigfoot was gone, disappeared into the forest before anyone could see her. But she'd saved my life. By noticing I hadn't cooked, by understanding that break in routine meant crisis, by making noise to bring help, by caring enough to risk exposure to save me. The last thing I saw before losing consciousness in the ambulance was her face at the tree line, watching, making sure I was being cared for, then vanishing into the darkness. I spent 3 weeks in the hospital, stroke affecting my right side, my speech, physical therapy, speech therapy, slow recovery. When I finally returned home in February, I walked slowly to the kitchen, set up at 5:30 p.m. like always, started cooking at our usual time. 6 p.m. came. The back door stayed closed. She didn't arrive. I waited until 7, then 8 more. She never came. I understood. She'd saved my life, made sure I was cared for, then left. Our routine was broken. The year of cooking shows was over. I never saw her again. But on my back porch I found something. A carved wooden spoon. Crude but functional. Made with care. Left as a final gift. A reminder that she'd been here. That what we'd shared mattered. That she'd cared enough to save my life when I couldn't save myself. I'm 94 years old now. It's been 27 years since the Bigfoot saved my life. I recovered from the stroke, mostly. Still have some weakness on my right side. Speech took a year to come back fully. But I lived. Got 27 more years I wouldn't have had if she hadn't been paying attention. Sarah moved me to Seattle in 2003. I live with her family now. 3 generations under one roof. My great-grandchildren ask me to teach them cooking. I do, passing forward what Martha taught me, what I taught the Bigfoot, what she taught me about caring enough to notice. Here's what the Bigfoot taught me about grief, about purpose, about what makes life worth living. Cooking is about care, not perfection. The Bigfoot's collapsed souffle taught me what Martha had known. Technical skill matters less than the intention behind it. Food made with love is perfect even when it's imperfect. Presence is the real gift. She showed up every evening for 52 weeks. That consistency, that reliable witness, is what saved me from grief. Not the cooking itself, but the fact that someone cared enough to watch. Stories make food meaningful. The recipes don't matter without context. Martha's chicken soup is just soup until you tell the story of making it for her when she was dying. Then it becomes love made edible. Rituals create structure in chaos. When Martha died, time stopped meaning anything. The Bigfoot gave me back structure through consistent routine. That structure saved me. Teaching is how we say we matter. Every recipe I taught the Bigfoot, every technique demonstrated was me saying, I matter enough to pass this forward. You matter enough to receive it. And finally, we're remembered through what we create together. Martha lives on in my recipes. I'll live on in what I taught the Bigfoot. The tapes document not just cooking, but connection. That's what endures. The Bigfoot wasn't just watching passively. She was learning, absorbing, growing, developing skills she'd take back to her people. She understood that my cooking wasn't just food preparation. It was performance, ritual, memory, love, expressed through daily consistency. And she cared enough to notice when the routine broke, to understand that my absence from the kitchen at 5:30 p.m. meant something catastrophic, to risk exposure to bring help. That's intelligence, that's compassion. That's the kind of awareness we reserve for human relationships. She gave it to me across species lines. She was family. That's what she became. Not Martha's replacement. Nothing could replace Martha. But family nonetheless. Someone who showed up. Someone who cared. Someone who saved my life because she'd been paying attention. I still have the carved wooden spoon. Use it occasionally when teaching my great-grandchildren to cook. They don't know where it came from, just that Grandpa George treasures it. And I have the 52 tapes, a year of cooking shows made for an audience of one Bigfoot. Proof that purpose can be found in the smallest gestures, that performing for even one being who truly watches can transform grief into meaning. Next week, I'm giving the tapes to my granddaughter Emily. She's a documentary filmmaker, wants to create something from them. Not about proving Bigfoot exists, but about grief, about purpose, about the unexpected places we find connection. The location data will be removed, the Bigfoot's identity protected. But the story will be told. An old widower who found purpose by cooking for a creature who cared enough to watch, and who cared enough to save his life when everything fell apart. If you take anything from this story, take this. Show up, consistently, for the people who matter to you, for the rituals that give life structure, for the small daily acts that seem insignificant until they're gone. The Bigfoot showed up for 52 weeks. That consistency saved my life twice. Once by giving me purpose, once by noticing when I needed help. Be someone who shows up. Be someone who pays attention. Be someone who notices when routines break and understands that means crisis. Here's what you need to do. First, find your ritual. Whatever it is. Coffee with a friend every Tuesday. Sunday dinner with family. Evening walks. Whatever. Make it consistent. Make it sacred. Show up for it even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. That consistency creates structure for everyone involved. Second, pay attention to other people's routines. Notice when someone who always does something stops doing it. When the neighbor who always walks at 8 a.m. doesn't show up. When your friend who texts every morning goes silent. Broken routines signal crisis. Don't ignore them. Third, teach what you know. Whatever you care about, cooking, woodworking, music, whatever, teach it to someone who'll listen. That's how you become immortal. Not through fame or wealth, but through knowledge passed forward with care. The Bigfoot didn't just save my life in January 1998. She saved it in May 1997 when she started watching. Without her, I would have kept deteriorating, would have died of grief or negligence or just giving up. She gave me purpose, made cooking matter again, made daily life feel worth engaging with. That's what witnesses do. They make our lives matter by paying attention, by showing up, by caring enough to notice when something's wrong. We all need witnesses, beings who see us, who pay attention, who notice when we're struggling. The Bigfoot was my witness for 52 weeks, and that witnessing saved me. Share this if you've ever been someone's witness, if you've shown up consistently for someone who needed it, if you've noticed when a routine broke and understood it meant crisis. Comment if you believe that cooking, or any daily ritual, is about more than the activity itself, that it's about care, about connection, about saying I'm here and you matter. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories about unexpected connection, about beings who show up when we need them most, about the small daily acts that transform lives. And if you're out there, my evening visitor, wherever you are, thank you. Thank you for watching, thank you for caring, thank you for paying attention when it mattered most. I've taught your recipes to my great-grandchildren. They're making your wild mushroom risotto. They're using your honey in their baking. They don't know where these recipes came from, but they're carrying you forward. That's immortality. That's love. That's what it means to be remembered. You showed an old widower that grief doesn't have to be permanent, that purpose can be found in performing for even one being who truly watches, that showing up, consistently, reliably, caringly, is the greatest gift anyone can give. I hope you're still out there, still cooking, still using what I taught you. I hope you found your own audience, someone who watches the way you watched me, someone who cares the way you cared. Thank you for 52 weeks of showing up. Thank you for saving my life. Thank you for proving that connection transcends species when built on consistency, care, and genuine attention. I'll be making Martha's lemon lavender cake tonight. One slice for me, one for your memory, one for the understanding that love, real love, is expressed through daily ritual and consistent presence. Thank you for teaching me that. Thank you for everything.